video I will discuss about the respiratory systems. Okay, then start. Energy is released from food material when it undergoes oxidations in the cells. Oxygen is necessary for the process of oxidation. Okay, oxygen is necessary for the process of oxidation. During oxidation reaction, energy is created. During oxidation reaction, energy is created. In addition to energy, waste material such as carbon dioxide is also produced in the cells. The carbon dioxide is eliminated from the body. The carbon dioxide is eliminated from the body. There is a continuous interchange of gases between the organism and the external environments. Okay, a system of specialized structure performing these functions is called respiratory system. Okay, what is respiratory systems? The carbon dioxide is eliminated from the body and there is a continuous interchange of gases between the organism and the external environments. Not only carbon dioxide but also the oxygen and carbon dioxide. Okay, both the gaseous exchange between the organism and the external environment. These systems with specialized functions, okay, is called our respiratory systems. Okay, then the term respirations is defined as the exchange of gases O2 and CO2 occurring between atmosphere and the body cells. It involves two stages, external respiration and internal respiration. The exchange of gases occurring between atmosphere and blood taking in the lungs is described as a external respirations. Okay, and then the exchange of gases occurring between blood and the body cells is called internal respiration or tissue respiration. Okay, now what is external respirations? The exchange of gases occurring between atmosphere and blood taking place in lungs. Okay, that is called the external respiration. And also the internal respiration is the exchange of gases occurring between blood and the body cells. Okay, blood and body cells is called internal respiration, and the gaseous exchange between atmosphere and the blood taking place in lungs. Okay, it's called the external respiration. Okay, now then the respiratory systems. Okay, the organs of the respiratory systems are nose, pharynx, larynx, trachea, bronchi, bronchioles, two lungs and their coverings, pleura and muscles of respirations, intercostal muscles and diaphragm. Okay, the various organs of respiratory systems are listed in this structure. Okay, see this structure, it's our all about respiratory systems, and it's the pharynx, and that is the epiglottis, and its part is larynx, that is consist of hyoid bone and thyroid cartilage. Okay, that is the larynx, and this part is trachea, and it's the left bronchus, and that is the right clavicle. Okay, discuss one by one, and the first one is nose. Nose is the first respiratory passage through which incoming air passes. It ensures warm, moistened and filtered air to the respiratory system. The air is warmed as it passes over the surface of the nose. It is moistened by its contact with moist mucus. The particles of dust stick to the mucus. The nose is an organ of the senses of smell. The olfactory nerves are responsible for the smelling sense. Okay, our sense part or our special senses, you all are study our previous videos. Okay, and discuss then the next part is pharynx. Okay, pharynx is an organ involved in the respiratory as well as the digestive systems. Okay, the pharynx is involved in our both systems, respiratory and digestive. Okay, The air passing through the nose is further moistened and warmed here. Okay. The auditory tubes pass between the nasal part of the pharynx and the middle ear. And through these tubes, air passes to the middle ear, which is essential for proper hearing, and the lymphatic tissues of the pharyngeal tonsils help to prevent microbes from entering into the body. Okay. The larynx is composed of pieces of cartilage connected by ligaments and membranes. Okay. The larynx is composed of pieces of cartilage connected by ligaments and membranes. Okay. Then the cartilage are as follows. The cartilage are the thyroid cartilage, cricoid cartilage, arytenoid cartilage, and cuneiform and the corniculate cartilage. Okay. There are four types of cartilage, and that is the thyroid cartilage, cricoid cartilage, arytenoid cartilage, cuneiform and corniculate cartilage. Okay. The cuneiform and corniculate cartilage are 2 each, and the arytenoid cartilage are only 2, and the cricoid and thyroid 1 each. On the top of the thyroid cartilage is the epiglottis, which is a cartilaginous fluff and helps to close larynx during swelling. Okay. The vocal cord lie inside the larynx. The vocal cords lie inside the larynx. They pass from thyroid cartilage in front to the arytenoids behind. Okay. It is by the variations of the cords due to the air passing through the glottis, that is, the voice is produced. The various muscles attached to the larynx control the production of voice. Okay. It provides a passage for air between the pharynx and the trachea. During the passage, the air is further moistened, filtered and warmed. Okay. The vocal cord produce sounds of varying loudness and pitch. Okay. The vocal cord produce sounds varying loudness and pitch. During swelling, the larynx moves and occluding the opening into it forms the pharynx, ensuring passages of food into the digestive systems. Okay. It's all about larynx, and then the trachea, bronchi and bronchioles. Because of the presence of the cartilage in the large air passage, they remain permanently open, allowing the free passage of air between the atmosphere and the alveoli of lungs. Okay. Then the mucus coating of the membrane is sticky, and dust or bacteria adhere to it. The particulate matter in inspired air is thus removed before it reaches the alveoli. The motions of the cilia lining, the membrane helps the mucus with adherent particle reaching the pharynx, from where it may either be swallowed or expectorated. The diameter of respiratory passages may be altered by the contractions or relaxations in involuntary muscles. This alters the volume of air entering the lungs. Okay. Then the intercostal muscles and diaphragm. They contract simultaneously, which enlarges the thoracic cavity in all directions. This occurs during inspirations. The reverse process occurs during expirations. Okay. Lungs. Lungs are the principal organ of respirations. Lungs are the principal organs of respiration. There are two in numbers and fill the cavity, laying one on each side. They are cone shaped with the apex above. The base rests on the floor of the thoracic cavity on the diaphragm. The lungs are divided into lobes by tissues. The right lungs has 3 lobes. The right lungs has 3 lobes and the left lungs has 2 lobes. Okay, and each of the bronchial tube, which is an extension of bronchi. The lungs tissue is elastic, porous, and spongy. The lungs tissue is elastic, porous, and spongy. The lungs tissue is thickly supplied with blood vessels. Each lung is surrounded by a double serous membrane called pleura. Pleura is composed of outer parietal and inner vesicular layers. Between the pleural layers, there is a slightly exudate which is lubricates the surface or prevents frictions between the lungs and the chest wall during the respiratory movements. Okay, alveolar lining of the lungs is very thin. The alveolar lining of the lungs is very thin. It is main site or it is the main site for the exchange of gases, oxygen and carbon dioxide. Okay, that is the trachea and bronchi. It's the trachea and it's the right bronchus, and these parts are the bronchioles. Okay, and that is the left bronchioles and that is the right bronchus. That's the trachea. Okay, it's the alveoli. The air, it's the alveolar duct, and it's the also the alveolar duct. These three are the alveolar duct, and it's the respiratory bronchi, and that is the terminal bronchiole. Okay, it's the uh, air saccule or alveolus. Okay, see the structures of trachea, bronchi and the alveoli. Okay, the mechanism of respiration. The respiration is the process by which the lungs are expanded to take air in and then contracted to expel it out. The cycle of respiration consists of 3 phases, that is the inspirations, expirations and pause. Okay, per minute 16 to 17 cycles of these phases occur in the normal adults. The expansions of chest during the inspiration occurs due to muscular activities of the respiratory muscles. This muscle activity is partly voluntary and partly involuntary. Okay, this muscle activity is partly voluntary and partly involuntary. The main muscles of respiration in normal quiet breathing are intercostal muscles and diaphragm. Physiology of respiration. The process of respiration is divided into 2 phases: external respiration and internal respiration. During external respiration, air which contains oxygen is taken in. It flows along the trachea and bronchial tubes to the alveoli, where it intimately comes into the contact with the blood in the pulmonary capillaries. Through the alveolar capillary membrane, oxygen passes across and it is taken off by the hemoglobin of red blood cells. It is then carried out to the heart and it is pumped in the arteries for circulation to all the parts of the body. Simultaneously, carbon dioxide, which is waste product of metabolism. Simultaneously, carbon dioxide is the waste product of the metabolism, passes across the membrane from the blood capillaries to the alveoli. From alveoli, it passes through the bronchial tubes and trachea and is breathed out through the nose and mouth. The processes of taking air in, that means the inspiration, and throwing it out, that means expiration, are controlled by the respiratory center in the brain. The center is sensitive to the amount of oxygen and carbon dioxide present in blood. During internal respiration, the blood with its hemoglobin saturated with oxygen circulates throughout the body. Various tissues of the body take oxygen from the oxygen-rich hemoglobin, and the blood receives the waste product of oxidation, that means carbon dioxide. It's the physiology of respiration. And then the intercostal muscles. There are 11 pairs of muscles called intercostal muscles. Okay, the intercostal muscles are 11 pairs. Okay, that means 22. Okay, which occupy the space between the ribs. The intercostal muscles are present. Mm, the intercostal muscles are present. The the space occupied between ribs. The ribs in that part. Okay, these are arranged in two layers. These intercostal muscles are arranged in two layers. The external intercostal muscle extended downwards, and the forwards, and internal intercostal muscles extended downwards and backwards. Okay, the first pair of ribs is fixed. The first pair of ribs is fixed. Okay, hence when the intercostal muscles contract, the other pairs of the ribs are pulled towards first rib. Because of the shape of the ribs, they move they move outwards when they call pulled upwards. In this way, the thoracic cavity is enlarged. In this way, the thoracic cavity is enlarged anterior, posteriorly, and laterally. Okay, that is the intercostal muscle. And then the diaphragm. It is a muscular flap. The diaphragm is a muscular flap which separated the thoracic cavity from the abdominal cavity. Okay, it consists of central tendon. The diaphragm is consist of central tendon, from which the muscle fiber radiate to lower lips, vertebral column, and oxiphoid process. When the diaphragm is relaxed, the central tendon is at the level of 8th thoracic vertebra. When the diaphragm contracts, its muscle fibers are shortened and the central tendon is pulled downwards, enlarging the thoracic capacity in length. Okay, the intercostal muscles and the diaphragm contracts and relax simultaneously. Thus, due to the contractions of respiratory muscles, the thoracic cavity is enlarged. The pressure in the lungs is reduced to a level lower than the atmospheric pressure, which brings the air into the lungs to equalize the atmospheric and alveolar air pressure. Okay, and see the thoracic cavity during breathing. This is the thoracic cavity in breathing time. Okay, during expiration, the intercostal muscles and diaphragm relax. During the expiration, the intercostal muscles and the diaphragm relax, and the ribs fall back into the place. Okay, and the diaphragm ascends, the lungs contrast, and the air is given out. After expiration, there is a small pause. Following are the sum of the physiological values. That is the vital capacity. It is the volume of air that passes into and out of the lungs by the most forcible inspiration and expiration. The value of normal human is 3 to 5 liters. Once the lungs is filled with air, they are never completely emptied. The quantity of air that a person can expel by foreseeable expiration after the deepest inspirations is termed is vital capacity. There are several factors on which vital capacity of the man depend. Anatomical build of a person, position of the persons, and strength of respiratory muscles, and the density of the lungs are some of these factors. A tall, thin person has a higher vital capacity than an obese person. A well-developed man may be higher vital capacity. Factors like paralysis of respiratory muscles, pulmonar congestions, etc. reduce the vital capacity. Then the tidal volume. It is the amount of air which is inspired and expired in the ordinary quick breathing. The normal value is about 500 ml. Then the inspiratory reserve volume. It is the amount of air that can be breathed in and vital volume, above the tidal volume, sorry. By the deepest possible inspiration, it is estimated to be about 1800 to 2000 ml. Expiratory reserve volume. It is the inspiratory reserve volume and that is the expiratory reserve volume. It is the amount of air that can be breathed out after a quiet expirations by the most foreseeable expiration. It is equal to 1400 ml. Residual volume. It is the amount of air that remains in the lungs after the most powerful expiration. It is about 1200 to 1500 ml. Okay. Then the summary of respiratory systems, that is the nose, pharynx, larynx, trachea, bronchi, bronchioles and alveoli. Okay, it's all about our respiratory systems. Okay.